everyone, this is Sudhir Kumar and today I am here to discuss about how to prepare for ARS examination of ICAR in the discipline of Agriculture Biotechnology. So before I proceed, I would like to give a brief introduction about myself. So I am Sudhir Kumar, I am from Darbhanga, Bihar, and I have done my schooling from Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, Darbhanga and Samastipur. Thereafter I did my undergraduation from University of Agriculture Sciences, Bangalore, and then I qualified ICAR JRF examination with All India first rank and did my masters from Indian Agriculture Research Institute, New Delhi, and then I qualified ARS examination in the discipline of Agriculture Biotechnology again with first rank. So with this brief introduction, now I would like to give a brief insight on how to prepare for ARS examination in the discipline of Agriculture Biotechnology. So the first parameter is that we should have a level of knowledge what is expected from a master's student of Agriculture Biotechnology. So it means we should have a foundation. So we should have that level of knowledge either from classrooms or from different books or whatever the sources you have. Second is that what all is required and what all is expected from you for this ARS examination in particular. So what all should be your approach to qualify this examination. So I'll talk on both the parameters. So first, I'd like to tell you that if you are doing your masters in the Agriculture Biotechnology, then there are at least few books are there that you must refer before you are going to prepare for this particular examination. So the first book I would like to suggest you is B.D. Singh, Biotechnology Expanding Horizons by B.D. Singh, or you can also refer Plant Biotechnology by H.S. Chawla. So any one book you can refer, both are good books. I have referred B.D. Singh, Biotechnology by Expanding Horizons. Then it comes Plant Biotechnology by Slater, Scott and Fowler. Next is T.A. Brown. They have written Gene Cloning and DNA Analysis. Next is Principles of Gene Manipulation and Genomics, written by Primrose. Then is Principles of Biochemistry by Leininger. Then Plant Physiology and Development by Tej and Jigar. Then Principles and Technology of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology by Wilson and Walker. Then Biotechnology, a Comparative Approach, which has been written by me, Sudhir Kumar, Mahak Tufchi and Niraj Anand. Then you have to read Biochemistry and Molecular Biology of Plants, few selected chapters which has been written by Buchanan and others. Then you should also refer internet for different sources, different topics. Then you can remain updated about the crop biotechs, what all are going on, what all developments, what all recent research are going on in the field of crop biotech, especially in the field of genetic engineering in plants. So you should be in touch with crop biotech update, which has been given by ISAAA, International Service for Acquisition of Agriculture Biotech Applications. So these are the basic books. Now I will talk unit wise. If you go through the syllabus of ARS in Agriculture Biotechnology, there are 12 units in the syllabus. The first one is cell structure and function. So now it is up to you. If you have read it from any source or any book, it is well and good. If you have not read, then for this particular unit, I can suggest that you can read according to the syllabus. You can refer Bruce Albert, or you can also refer Pathfinder book, the Life Science, which has been published by the Pathfinder. And the second unit is Biochemistry, Biomolecules and Metabolism. For this particular unit, you can refer Leininger, and you can also Google it, like a few topics like antiviral compounds and nutrient precursors. These things you may not get in Leininger. So you can Google it, because Google is your best friend and you have to make a friendship with the Google, because biotech is such a discipline which is evolving very fast. Day in and day out you'll get new technologies, new research achievements. So you have to remain updated with the Google and in the internet. The third unit is enzymology. No need to bother that much. You need not specialize yourself in enzymology. You can read enzymology from Leininger. As well as I also referred the book Instant Biochemistry, that is a BIOS series books. The next chapter is molecular genetics. So for this particular unit, you can refer Leininger as well as there is one book, Principles of Genetics by Sunstead and Simmons. So from that book also you can read selective chapters. The next is gene expression. So for this particular unit, what you can do, you can read Leininger as well as Sunstead and Simmons. Next is molecular biology techniques. So for this one, you can refer the appendix of BTC and you can Google the remaining topics, as well as you can also refer the book Wilson and Walker. They have given the biochemical techniques and molecular biology. Then is gene cloning. So for this, you need to refer the book Gene Cloning and DNA Analysis by T.A. Brown, as well as B.D. Singh and H.S. Chawla will also be very much helpful for this particular chapter. Next is molecular biology. For molecular biology, I will suggest you can refer Leininger, Sunstead and Simmons, as well as a few topics which you can't get from these books. You can Google it on the internet. So that's not an issue. The next is plant molecular biology. So for this particular chapter, many physiology topics are there. So for selective topics like phytochromes or hormonal signaling, for these topics you can refer Tej and Jigar, a physiology book by Tej and Jigar, and as well as you can also refer the plant biotechnology by Slater. You have to use internet very extensively for this particular unit, as well as a few chapters and a few topics can be covered from a book which is Biochemistry and Molecular Biology of Plants by Buchanan, like mitochondrial fertility, and a few topics are there which you can refer from this particular book. The next is tissue culture. So for tissue culture, I think H.S. Chawla and B.D. Singh, these two books are sufficient as far as if you see the questions which comes in ARS examination. So from that point of view, I think these two books are well and good. So no need to worry much. And if any other thing is there, you can Google it on. You can read from the internet. Then next is plant genetic engineering. So for this plant genetic engineering, I think the plant biotechnology book by Slater, I think this is one of the good book which you can refer, as well as you can use internet and you can get the information from crop biotech update of ICAR-ARS. Next is molecular markers and genomics. So for this particular chapter, you can read review papers. Like for markers, you can read a few review papers, for example by segment, as well as on few topics of genomics and QTL mapping, etc. You can refer the review papers by Collard, as well as you can use internet to search for different other topics. So this was a unit-wise analysis on what all the sources you should refer in order to get an insight into and how to prepare the best way for ARS examination in agriculture biotechnology. So I told about this one. Then I would also like to mention here, like when you are going to refer B.D. Singh, Biotechnology Expanding Horizons by B.D. Singh. So in that particular book, chapter number 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. These chapters are the most important chapters, and these 7 to 8 chapters will give you a lot of information as far as the competitive examinations are concerned. So from the exam point of view, please read these 8 chapters very extensively, revise it again and again. So these 8 chapters, as well as the appendix in the at the end of the book, that appendix is very much helpful. So please revise these books again and again. Coming to HS Chawla, from HS Chawla, few things like the gene identification, then a few other methods. Those things you can refer. I think they have covered it nicely. And for all other purposes, I would like to suggest that you can refer the BTC. Then a plant biotechnology book by Slater. Read this book very extensively, very comprehensively, because each and every chapter is very important. So if you are a biotechnology student, you must have a full command on these two books, at least a minimum these two books, because you will give a lot of information, a lot of insight on your particular subject. Next is Gene Cloning and DNA Analysis by T.A. Brown. This book they have written in a very simple language. I think not more than 2 or 3 days is required to read the entire book, and few hours are required to revise the entire book. So take all the time and read this book so that you can get a good concept, a good logic into the gene cloning and as well as the different aspects of biotechnology. Next I have talked about Principles of Gene Manipulation and Genomics. So this is a book which has been written by Primrose. This book is not so easy to read, frankly speaking, because this is a thick book also, and they have given a lot of information. They have dumped a lot of information which is not required for this particular exam. Therefore, what you can do, if you can read, if you have the time, if you can read, please read the entire book. If you don't have time, then what you can do, you can read the initial 4 or 5 chapters, then a few chapters from genomics, first and second chapter of genomics you can read. This much you can do. Still, if you don't have time, what you can do, just go through the diagrams of the different chapters of the book, as well as whatever the tables they have given, whatever the flowcharts they have given, those things you can refer, and please note it down in your notes. So that way this book may be helpful for you. Next I talked about Principles of Biochemistry by Leninger. This book is one of the most important book, not only for biotechnology, but whatever the life science examination you are going to give. Whatever the examination you give, this book is one of the most handy book. Therefore, read the entire book very nicely, and not only biochemistry but also metabolic pathways as well as the molecular biology they have covered very nicely. So please read this book and revise it again and again. Then it comes Plant Physiology and Development by Taj and Jigar. If you don't know about this book, you can ask your physiology friends. You need not to read the entire book. What you can do, you can read hormonal signaling in the plant, then the chapter on phytochrome, then the chapter on nitrogen fixation, sulfur metabolism. These chapters at least you can read from this book, and they are given very nicely. The entire book is very nice, but for you I think these 4 or 5 chapters are enough. So please read these 4 or 5 chapters from this book. Then next is Principles and Technology of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology by Wilson and Walker. In this book, you can refer, you can go through the techniques, whatever is of your use, and as per the syllabus of the ARS. So this book is also very nice. Next is you can use some review papers for markers as well as the sequencing techniques. And I mentioned about one book, Biochemistry and Molecular Biology of Plants by Buchanan. In that book, selective topics you can read, like mitochondrial fertility, and other few chapters are there. So those few topics you can refer from that book. Then you have to keep yourself updated with the link I told about ICAR-ARS, which gives you about the crop biotech update. So you can get the entire information, how many countries are growing biotech crops, so what is the recent ongoing events in the biotechnology, how many farmers, what is the economic status, and what are all the crops, what are all the transgenics have been developed. So the entire update you will get from this particular link. Now, after having all these books, all these sources, there are still few topics which you can't get from any of these books. So I told you again and again, that make Google your friend, have a friendship with the Google, and Google whatever the topics you don't get. So even I actually prepared, and I had a very less time. So many of the topics I covered from internet, and whatever the sources I have told you, all the sources I have referred, and I have read all the books. So it's up to you that how much you can believe and how much you can rely upon. But obviously I think this much is enough if you want to prepare for ARS examination of ICAR. Now one more book is there, Biotechnology: A Competitive Approach, which I have written along with Mahak Tufchi and Neeraj Anand. So this single book can enhance your confidence, as well as it can make you prepare for this examination to a large extent, because in this book I have covered the questions which are most common, and those questions which has a maximum chance that they can be asked in this examination, as well a lot of miscellaneous informations are there, previous year questions are there. So please refer this book, it will be very much helpful for you. And now, after having that, what all you should read, what are the sources you can refer for the preparation of this particular examination. Now, as we all know that this examination is in three parts. The first is preliminary, then second is the mains, and the third is the interview. So for prelims exam, you need not to prepare anything separately, and I don't think that there's a need to solve the question papers and question banks. But yes, what you can do that wherever it is available, you can go to the previous year's questions and have a glimpse of whatever questions are being asked, what is the level of examination, so that you can refer. So no need to go for 3-4 question banks and give a lot of time for that one. Now, coming to how to prepare for the mains. So what you have to do, you have to keep the syllabus with you, take each and every topic. Now, when you have the syllabus in your hand, so you have to think about each and every topic, and whatever the topic you're going to read, thinking all the dimensions, like what all can be asked from this particular topic. Like suppose I'll tell you, like if there is one topic, genetically modified crops. Now, what all you should do, you should know what are genetically modified crops, means you should be able to define it. Then you should know how genetically modified crops are prepared or how it is constructed. So you should know about how we do the transgenic work. Then you should also know what are the applications of genetically modified crops. Okay, you should know the examples of genetically modified crops. You should also know what are the pros and what are the cons. So these 5-6 parameters are there. On that basis, you have to cover each and every topic. Because remember one thing, if you don't prepare yourself in this mode, then it doesn't matter how much you know. What matters a lot is how much you are able to express yourself in the examination. Because the person who is evaluating your paper, answer sheet, he doesn't know who you are, how much you know. He just know what you have written there. Therefore, you have to express yourself more than what you know. If you know less also, doesn't matter, but you should express yourself in a way that yes, you have the information and you should write in the best way. So what I mean to say, that while preparation, you prepare your notes in such a way that it covers each and every dimension of that particular topic. You frame the questions. What all questions can be asked? Ask to your friends, ask to other colleagues, like what all the questions can be asked from this particular topic, if anything recently going on that particular topic. So frame the questions and then prepare the notes and keep everything in bullet form. What are the applications, what are the benefits, what are the limitations, everything you have to keep in bullet form so that you can revise it nicely, you can remember the things properly, and you can express it when you're writing the mains examination. So it should be reproducible, just like markers. So friends, because the time is also very less when you are writing the mains examination. You have say 3 hours, and in 3 hours you have to answer 40 questions of 2 marks, 20 questions of 5 marks, and 6 questions of 10 marks. So total 240 marks. And really the time is not that much. Therefore prepare good notes and remember in such a way that you can reproduce the things if asked in the examination in the best way. Now in prelims examination, I forgot to mention one thing, like when we write the examinations which are based on multiple choice question, there one question, one answer, one option is correct out of the 4. Therefore what I would suggest you personally, that don't think that okay, this question I don't know, so I need not to worry about this question, or I need not to attempt because I can get a negative marking. But I would like to suggest that please take maximum attempt you can. In the first go, solve the questions of which you are very much confident. In the next round, you go for the questions where you can eliminate at least 50% of the option, like 2 options you can eliminate, and you are just sure that out of these 2 options, 1 option is correct. You must attempt those questions. In the third round, again, out of the 4 options, if you have anything in the mind like, oh no, I think this option is correct out of the 4 according to me, must attempt those questions. Because if you won't attempt, your colleagues, your other competitors, they will attempt, and there is a probability that 25% chance is there that your answer will be correct. So please take attempt, maximum attempt you can in the prelims examination. Now in mains, I told that you have to attempt all the questions in the mains examination, because that matters more than giving perfection to your answer for few questions. Because if you get 0.25 more marks by giving the perfection to few questions, the loss you are making by leaving few questions unattempted is much more. Therefore, please attempt all the questions, be fast, keep track of the time. Like for each mark, after attempting the objective type of questions, which are 40 questions are there, for 5 marks and 10 marks questions I am telling, don't give more than 1 minute for 1 mark. Like for 5 marks question, what you have to do, give maximum 4 minutes or 4 minutes and 30 seconds for one question, then go to the next one. Means you have to keep a track of time, you have to maintain your time in such a way. And for 10 marks question, you have again don't give more than 8 or 9 minutes on one single question. So if you do in that way, I think you can cover all the questions, and that is what which matters a lot in the mains examination. Now what you have to do while answering the subjective questions in the mains examination, see, read the question twice, thrice, what actually they are asking. Don't beat around the bush. Understand the question, what exactly the examiner he want to ask you. If he is asking what are the applications of genetically modified crops, you have to write what are the applications of genetically modified crops. Don't make the story. But yes, what you have to do, I'll tell you. If they ask what are the applications of genetically modified crops in 5 marks question, what you must do, not for this question, for all the questions I am telling, whatever they ask, irrespective of that, you must give a 1 or 2 sentence introduction and one example at least. Even if they are not asking to define it, even if they are not asking to give example, but try to give a 1-line definition, one example, then directly come to the point what the examiner is asking, applications of genetically modified crops, give 5-6 applications, and then give one concluding line. This will make your answer complete, more impressive, and it will fetch you more marks than if you write just applications of genetically modified crops 4-5 points. Now again, there are many questions where you can give some diagrams. So I would suggest you please give diagrams wherever possible. No need to draw the diagrams with 2-3 colored pens, pencil, pen, just whatever the color you are using, either blue or black. Just give a rough diagram, a rough schematic diagram, just to show that yes, you know about this topic. So use diagrams as far as possible in each and every subjective question, and also use example wherever possible. Now, if you think that yes, you can use some flow chart, like if they ask some process, any molecular procedure, if they ask any mechanism, there you can give your answer in the flow chart. That will be more impressive, and it will be easy for the examiner also to evaluate you, and again it will fetch you more marks than if you write a paragraph or the full page. Now, if they ask anything, like if they're asking the concept, if they're asking the logic, obviously you have to give the logic in the full sentence and in the paragraphs. But if they're asking something very much subjective, like if they're asking what are the benefits, what are the applications, like that, always go in bullets. No need to write the entire sentence, just write in the bullet form, because again it will be easy for the examiner to evaluate, as well as again it will give you more marks, because your answer will be to the point, and always to the point answer fetch more marks. So I told you about how to write or how to approach the subjective questions in mains examination. Now, once you get selected in mains examination, so as I already told, the basis of selection in mains examination is you have to attempt all the questions as far as possible, write the answer of all the questions in a proper format, like introduction, example, then the main body of the answer. Okay, and then what you have to do after writing the main content, give some conclusion, use diagrams, use flow charts, use bullets. Okay, so it will fetch you more marks. Now, once you get selected in the mains, the next round is interview. So for interview, what is the most important aspect is that you should have command on your subject, and that is obviously you have, because you have cleared the mains. So along with having the subject knowledge, something else is also required and is expected, and the probability is there that few other questions may be asked from you, even though that may not be directly connected with your subject or and discipline of ARS. Like a few things what you have to master and you have to take cognizance of, like you should have a look on the research topic, on the research aspect, what you are working in your PhD, as well as what you have done in your masters. So please go through your research work extensively, that what you are doing and what is expected from your research work. Then you should have a general knowledge of agriculture, and also what are all going on currently in agriculture, what are the different schemes of government of India, what the government is striving for. So these things you should know, that what is the present scenario of agriculture, what we are exporting, what we are importing, how much we are contributing to the Indian economy, as well as like what are all the schemes of government of India, as well as you should also refer that what are the schemes of your state government where you are residing, what are the challenges of agriculture, what are your vision towards those challenges. So these things you should prepare, and they'll ask you to fill the summary sheet which you have to bring for the interview. So please fill this summary sheet very nicely, and while writing anything in the summary sheet, be confident if any question is asked from those parts. So present yourself very nicely in a very decent way in the summary sheet. Now, a few things like what is expected and what can be asked, like since you are giving your interview in the discipline of agriculture biotechnology, so I think a few things which you must know, like about who all got the Nobel Prize in the recent years, especially in physiology and medicine. Then if any other scientists, any other institutes are working on those research aspects on which you have worked in your masters or you have been working in your PhD, that also need to be looked upon, because many times they can ask those questions, because in interview a panel of 3 or 4 persons are there, and they can ask anything whatever comes to their mind about your subject or about agriculture or about anything what you have mentioned in the summary sheet. Therefore, prepare yourself in such a way that whatever they ask, try to answer those things to the as far as possible. You can't answer all the questions, and you may answer also, who knows, but it all depends on them, and it all depends on you also, where you drag your interview while answering the questions. Therefore, be careful while answering the question interview, that don't mention anything in your answer of which you are not confident enough, because you may drag in the subsequent question on those aspects. So please be careful. Now, these are the things which need to be looked upon, like about general agriculture, about agriculture economy, and your research aspect, your subject in the interview. So in this way, you can prepare for the ARS examination in the discipline of agriculture biotechnology. And I think this much information is sufficient, and it will be very much helpful, I hope. So with this, thank you so much.